Hello everyone, this is Eric. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we going to summarize on the book Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. So let's start. 1. About two minds. Our behavior is controlled by two different systems, one automatic and the other deliberate. There's a fascinating play going on in our minds, a movie-like story between two characters with lots of twists, drama, and contradictions. Two characters include System 1, instinctive, automatic and emotional, and System 2, mature, slow, and calculated. When confronted, their interactions determine how we think, make judgments, decide, and act. System 1 is the part of the brain that acts intuitively and suddenly, often without conscious control. You can experience this system in action when you hear a very loud and sudden sound. What you will do? You can immediately and automatically redirect your attention to it. It's System 1. This system is the legacy of millions of years of evolution. The vital advantages lie in the ability to make quick decisions and judgments. System 2 is what we mean when we imagine the part of the brain responsible for an individual's decision-making, reasoning, and beliefs. It controls conscious activities of the mind such as self-control, choice, and intentional focus. For example, imagine you are looking for a girl in the crowd. Your mind will deliberately focus on the task. It remembers the person's features or whatever helps determine her coordinates. This ability eliminates distractions, helping you to ignore irrelevant subjects. If you maintain this deliberate focus, you can spot her in a few minutes, whereas if you are distracted you will have a hard time finding her. As you will see in the next section, the relationship between these two systems determines how we behave. 2. The system is lazy. Inertia can lead to mistakes and affect intelligence. To see how the two systems work, try solving the following famous stick and ball problem. A bat and ball costs $1.10. The bat is $1 more expensive than the ball. So how much does the ball cost? The price that comes to mind, 10 cents, is the result of one emotional and automated system, and it's working. Take a few seconds and try to solve this problem. Do you see your error? The correct answer is 5 cents. What just happened is your impulsive System 1 takes over and automatically responds by relying on gut feelings. But it responds too fast. Normally, when faced with an unclear situation, System 1 would call System 2 to solve the problem, but in the bat and ball problem, System 1 was fooled. It looks at the problem too simple, and mistakenly believes it can be mastered. The stick and ball problem exposes our instinct for lazy mental labor. When the brain is active, we usually use only the minimum amount of energy that is sufficient for that task. This is also known as the law of least effort. Because reviewing answers with System 2 uses more energy, the mind won't do so when it thinks just using System 1 is enough. Laziness is harmful because the practice of System 2 is such an important part of human intelligence. Research shows that doing System 2 work requires focus and self-control, making us smarter. The stick and ball problem illustrates this, because our minds could have double-checked our answers using System 2 and thus avoid the common error. If we are lazy to use System 2, our mind will limit its intelligent power. 3. Autopilot. Why we don't always consciously control our thoughts and actions. What comes to mind when you see the letters SO_P? Maybe nothing. But what if you see the word eat first? Now, when you look at the word SO_P again, you should be able to complete it as soup. This process is also known as priming. We are baited when we come across a word, concept, or event that reminds us of related words and concepts. If you looked at the word shower instead of the word eat above, you would probably picture the word soap. This dropping phenomenon affects not only the way we think but also the way we act. Just as your mind is affected when it hears certain words and concepts, so can your body. A prime example of this phenomenon can be found in a study in which participants were baited by words associated with old age, such as Florida and wrinkles, whose responses slowed down than usual. Surprisingly, We are completely unaware that our thoughts and actions are affected by the release of bait. So baiting shows that, contrary to popular belief, we can't always consciously control our actions, judgments, and choices. Instead, we are always guided by certain social and cultural conditions. For example, research done by Kathleen Voss proves that just thinking about money makes people live more personally. People who are preyed on by the concept of money, for example, by looking at pictures of money, act independently and are less willing to get involved, depend on, or accept requests from others. One implication from Vaughn's research is that living in a society filled with monetary stimuli might make people more selfish. Baiting, like other social factors, can influence an individual's thoughts and therefore choices, judgments, and behaviors, and they are reflected back into culture and influence social patterns that we live in. 4. Quick judgment, how quickly the mind makes choices, even when it doesn't yet have enough information to make a rational decision. Imagine you meet someone named Ben at a party and find him very approachable. Then when someone asks if you know anyone who wants to donate to charity, you think of Ben, even though the only thing you know about him is how friendly he is. In other words, you like one part of Ben's personality, and so you think you like everything else about him. We often love or hate a person even though we know very little about them. The mind's tendency to simplify things without enough information often leads to judgmental errors. This phenomenon is called exaggerated emotional consistency, also known as the halo effect. A positive feeling about Ben's closeness causes you to place an aura on Ben, including when you don't understand what he is. But this is not the only way our minds take shortcuts when making judgments. People also have confirmation bias, the tendency to agree with information that supports their previous beliefs, as well as to accept whatever fits it. We can observe this phenomenon when we ask, "Is James friendly?" Studies show that, when faced with this kind of question with no other information, it's easy to see James as a friendly person, because the mind automatically agrees with the suggested idea. The halo effect and confirmation bias happen at the same time because our minds rush to make quick judgments. But this often leads to mistakes, because we don't always have enough data to make an accurate judgment. Our minds rely on fallible suggestions and oversimplify things to fill gaps in the data, leading us to potentially erroneous conclusions. Like dropping bait, these cognitive phenomena can occur completely unconsciously and influence our choices, judgments, and actions. 5. Reflection, how quickly the mind uses shortcuts to make decisions. We often find ourselves in situations where we have to make quick judgments. To do this, our minds have developed little shortcuts to help us instantly make sense of our surroundings. These are called heuristics. For the most part, these processes are very useful, but the problem is that our minds often overuse them. Applying these rules in inappropriate situations can lead to mistakes. To better understand what heuristics are and the errors that follow, we can consider two types: the substitution heuristic and the availability heuristic. Alternative heuristics occurs when we answer an easier question than the one actually asked. For example, try this question: a woman is running for sheriff. How successful will she be in that ministry? We automatically replace the question we should have answered with an easier one, like, does she look like someone who would make a good sheriff? This experimentation means that instead of researching a candidate's profile and policies, we are simply asking ourselves the much easier question of whether this woman fits our mental image of a candidate. Good sheriff or not. Unfortunately, if she doesn't fit that mental image, we'll throw her out, even though she has years of crime-fighting experience, which makes her a good candidate. Next comes the built-in heuristics, which is when you think something is more likely to happen just because you hear about it more often, or find it easier to remember. For example, strokes cause more deaths than traffic accidents, but one study found that 80% of respondents thought more people died from traffic accidents. That's because we hear more about these deaths in the media, and because they leave a deeper impression. We remember deaths from a horrible accident more easily than from a stroke, and so we are more likely to react inappropriately to these dangers. For Part 2 WTCH our next video, Thanks for watching video. Please like and subscribe to our channel.